It was still dark outside when I heard the pounding on my front door. I glanced at the clock. 5:07 a.m. No one knocks at that hour, unless something is terribly wrong. I pulled on a hoodie and went to the door. My pulse racing. When I opened it, my neighbor from across the street, Marcus Vance, was standing there. His face was stark white. His breathing ragged. Like he'd sprinted the whole way. "Don't leave the house today," he said. His voice low and insistent. "Stay inside. Please. Trust me." I stared at him, confused. Marcus was reserved, polite. Someone I only knew from a brief wave. I knew almost nothing about him, other than he'd moved in 6 months ago and kept to himself. Seeing him like this, so completely terrified, felt deeply wrong. "Marcus, what are you talking about?" I asked. My voice barely a whisper. "Is everything okay?" He shook his head. A quick, sharp movement, but his eyes were locked on mine with a chilling intensity. "I can't explain it all right now. Just promise me you won't go to work. Don't go anywhere." Everything felt unreal in that moment. The cold pre-dawn air, the first pale streaks of light painting the horizon, and my quiet neighbor, who I'd never seen show any emotion, now looked like a man on the verge of breaking apart. I took a shaky breath. "You're scaring me," I said. Why shouldn't I go?" He hesitated, his gaze darting down the empty street. Then his voice dropped even lower, a conspiratorial whisper that made the hair on my arms stand up. "You'll see by 9. Before I could ask another question, he took a step back, scanned the neighborhood as if expecting to see someone watching, and then walked quickly back to his own house. He never looked back. I stood there in the doorway, my hand cold on the doorknob, my mind spiraling. A logical part of me screamed to dismiss it. Maybe he was having a breakdown. Maybe it was some strange prank. But another part, the part of me that had learned to trust my gut after my father's death, was telling me to listen. "My name is Eliana Williams. 3 months ago, I lost my dad. Officially, it was a heart attack. Sudden, unexpected. But in the weeks leading up to it, he'd been different. Worried. He kept saying he had something important to tell me. Something about his work that I needed to understand. It's not what you think, Ellie," he'd said over the phone just 2 days before he died. "It's bigger. And you're a part of it." We never had that conversation. He was just gone. I made a choice. Not out of pure fear, but out of a strange, cautious respect for my father's last warning. I texted my boss, citing a sudden family emergency. Then I locked the door, drew the blinds, and I waited. The hours ticked by with agonizing slowness. Every creak of the house sounded like an intruder. At 8:45 a.m. I felt foolish. I was about to get dressed and just go in late when a news alert flashed on my phone. My heart stopped. Asterisk breaking news. Massive fire at downtown tower. Asterisk. It was my building. I turned on the TV just as the first images came on screen. Flames and thick black smoke poured from the windows of the 22nd floor. My floor. Then they showed a picture. A grainy security still of a woman swiping an ID card at the entrance that morning. A woman with my build, my hair, wearing a coat that looked exactly like mine. The news anchor's voice was grave. "Authorities have identified a person of interest. Eliana Williams, a senior analyst who worked on the floor where the fire originated. Sources say Williams had recently been passed over for a promotion and had expressed discontent with management." My blood ran cold. It was a lie. All of it. I hadn't been there. I was right here. My phone buzzed again. It was a text from an unknown number. Just one sentence. Asterisk. "They didn't expect you to be home." Asterisk. Suddenly, there was a frantic knock on my back door. It was Marcus. I let him in, my hands shaking too much to work the lock properly. "They're framing you," he said, his voice urgent and low as he stepped inside. This was never just about a fire. It was about you. Who, I demanded, my voice cracking. "Who is doing this? And how did you know?" He didn't answer right away. He moved to the window, peering carefully through the blinds. "I knew your father, Eliana. We weren't friends. We worked together. Not at his accounting firm. That was a cover. Your dad was an investigative journalist. The best I ever knew." The words felt like a physical blow. An accountant. My whole life. That's all he ever was. Quiet. Methodical. A man who lived by spreadsheets. He was investigating a corporation. Marcus continued, turning to face me. A defense contractor called Arbiter. He found something they would kill to keep hidden. They killed him to stop his story from getting out. And now they're trying to erase you to bury it for good. He reached into his coat and pulled out a small, intricately carved wooden box. It was old. Familiar. It had sat on my father's desk for as long as I could remember. He gave this to me a week before he died. He said if anything happened to him, I was to give it to you. He said you would understand what it meant. I took the box, my fingers tracing the familiar patterns. It wasn't just a box, it was a puzzle. As I twisted the lid, hidden panels shifted. It wasn't opening. It was waiting for a combination. My father's words echoed in my head. Asterisk. You're a part of it. Ellie. Asterisk. My birthday. I entered the digits 1, 0, 2, 5. The box clicked open. Inside, nestled on a bed of faded velvet, was a single, antique-looking key and a folded piece of paper. My father's handwriting. Asterisk. They think the story dies with me. But the proof is safe. The key isn't just for a lock. Ellie. It's for our legacy. Don't let them take it. Asterisk. Before I could process it, the news anchor's voice sharpened, cutting through the air. We're getting new information now. Law enforcement sources are leaking what they called disturbing emails from Eliana Williams' work computer, showing a pattern of increasing paranoia and hostility. My picture was back on the screen. This time with the headline Times, analyst turned saboteur Times. They were building a monster and giving it my face. The story was escalating faster than I could comprehend. The local news was suddenly interrupted by a national press conference. A severe-looking woman in a dark suit stood at a podium, the seal of a federal agency behind her. "My name is Director Thorne," she said, her voice like ice. "My agency is taking over this investigation. The suspect, Eliana Williams, is no longer to be considered a simple arsonist. She is a volatile asset. And we are initiating protocols for her immediate containment." Asset. Containment. Not suspect. Not arrest. The words chilled me to the bone. This wasn't a police matter anymore. "What does that mean?" I whispered, looking at Marcus. His face was grim. "It means they're done pretending. They're not trying to bring you in for questioning. They're coming to retrieve their property." Just then, Director Thorne held up a grainy photo for the cameras. It was me. Apparently, meeting with a man on a watch list. A man known for anti-corporate extremism. The photo was a complete fabrication. A clumsy Photoshop. But it didn't matter. "We now have evidence," Thorne declared, her voice ringing with false authority, linking Eliana Williams to a domestic terror cell. As of this moment, she is officially designated an enemy of the state. My world shattered. In the span of a few hours, I had gone from a grieving daughter to a national threat. They hadn't just framed me for a crime. They had branded me a terrorist to justify hunting me down with the full force of the government. "We have to go. Now," Marcus said, grabbing my arm. Her father's safe house. It's the only place we'll be safe. He led me to a hidden compartment in my own garage. One I never knew existed. Behind it was a tunnel that led to the storm drains under the city. As we ran through the darkness, the distant sound of sirens growing fainter, I finally asked the question that had been burning inside me. Why? Marcus, why go to all this trouble? If they just wanted me dead, they could have killed me. Why turn me into a terrorist? He stopped, turning to face me in the dim light. Because Arbiter's project wasn't just about weapons. Eliana, it was about control. Your father found out they developed a biological agent. Something that could be released into a population. Something that makes people suggestible, passive, easier to govern. But he also found something else. An anomaly. A natural immunity. A single genetic sequence that rendered their agent completely useless. He paused, letting the weight of his words sink in. It was you. Eliana. That immunity, it's in your DNA. You were born with it. The world tilted on its axis. All the strange illnesses as a child that vanished overnight. The doctors who were always so interested in my blood work. It all clicked into place with horrifying clarity. We reached the safe house. A small, forgotten sub-basement beneath an old library. It was exactly as my father had left it, a desk. A cot. And a wall of research. And on the desk, a single laptop was powered on. Waiting. I sat down. The wooden box in my hands. I knew what I had to do. The key wasn't for a physical lock. On its shaft was a sequence of numbers and letters. Impossibly small. A decryption code. I typed it into the waiting prompt on the screen. A single file opened. It was a video message from my father. Recorded the day before he died. His face was tired, but his eyes were full of a fierce love that broke my heart. Ellie, he began, his voice raspy. If you're seeing this, I'm gone. And they're coming for you. But not to kill you. They need you. They need what's inside you. For years, I've been trying to find a way to expose them. To show the world the weapon they built. But I realized I was looking for the wrong thing. He leaned closer to the camera. They built a weapon to control the world. So I built one to save it. A dead man's switch. A truth bomb that will send everything, all my research. The science behind their agent. And the proof of your immunity to every news desk and government watchdog on the planet. But it needed a key. Something only you could provide. Something they could never fake. A new understanding. Clear and terrifying and powerful. Dawned on me. My heart hammered in my chest. I looked down at my hands. At my own body. And I finally understood. I wasn't just the daughter of the man who discovered the truth. I was the truth. I looked up at Marcus. The words, leaving my lips in a whisper of revelation. He didn't just give me a key. I said, my voice shaking with the force of it. He made times me, times the key. The laptop screen changed, displaying two options. Asterisk. Maintain protocol times or times initiate arbiter revelation. Asterisk. My father's final message appeared below. Asterisk. They will hunt you forever. Ellie. But the truth will make you free. The choice is yours. Asterisk. I could feel them closing in. The vibrations of vehicles on the street above. They knew where I was. But there was no fear left. Only purpose. I pressed times initiate arbiter revelation, asterisk. A low hum filled the room as data streams began to flow out into the world. The science of my blood. The corporate crimes of arbiter. The names of everyone involved. It was all going public. The lie was dying. Suddenly, the door to the safe house splintered inwards. Director Thorne stood there, flanked by two armed agents. Her face, a mask of cold fury. It's over. Asset. She snarled. You're coming with us. But I just smiled. On the screen behind me, a map of the world lit up with thousands of points of light. Each one, a confirmed data delivery. You're too late, I said, my voice steady and clear. You wanted to make me a weapon. Congratulations. You just taught me how to pull the trigger. The agents raised their weapons. But Marcus was already moving, shoving a heavy metal desk over, giving us the 1 second we needed. We scrambled through a rear emergency exit as chaos erupted behind us. We emerged into the cool night air. Sirens wailing all around us. Helicopters were thundering overhead, their searchlights cutting through the darkness. But they weren't just hunting a fugitive anymore. They were chasing a symbol. I was no longer Eliana Williams, the grieving daughter. I was the living proof. The cure they couldn't contain and the truth they couldn't bury. I wasn't running from them anymore. I was ready to fight them. My father had given me a choice, and I had chosen to be free. If you believe that one person's courage can expose a lie, no matter how powerful, then make sure you subscribe and comment with where you're watching from. Because this isn't the end of my story. It's the beginning.